All right, let's go ahead and get started here. Good morning and welcome. We're so glad that you've chosen to spend part of your Saturday with us here at the Women's Summit. Hopefully someday soon we'll be back in person, but we'll make the best out of this for this year. My name is Ashley Harrell and I will be moderating this session. Before I turn it over, you're probably familiar by now, but there is a Q&A function on your Zoom screen. If any questions come up, there's anything you want to chat about, please just send that through the Q&A function or the chat function. We'll get to most of the questions at the end of the presentation, but we'll make sure we get you an answer one way or another. So please use that. We'll monitor those throughout this morning. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Ms. Kate Moore, who's the CGA Director of Competitions here at the CGA. I asked Kate what she wanted to say about me this morning, or she wanted me to say about her this morning in her intro. And she said, just play some loud music and give me some disco lights. But I couldn't quite pull that off. So suffice it to say, if you don't know Kate yet, you're in for a real treat this morning. She's very knowledgeable, mostly hilarious, our resident Australian here at the CGA. She's always up for a good joke, a good ruling, but mostly just for a good time. So Kate, take it away.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Ashley is my boss and I can't run any of the events without her. So I appreciate you, Ashley, and the rest of our tournament team here at the CGA. If I haven't met you before, hello, I am Kate. I do run all of our women's championships, women's USGA qualifying, and everything fun to do with women's competitions here at the CGA. So I appreciate you all being here this morning. We're going to talk about some of the different forms of play that we can play out on the golf course and that you can get and put in play at your leagues. I know you guys all do some very interesting things out there as well. But I'm just going to chat about some of the things that we can see within the rules book, and then we'll kind of get into some other formats at the end that we would never see in the USGA RNA Rules of Golf. So, all right, let's get started. So first off, we're going to chat about some of the things that we have to think about when we're running a golf competition and those central elements that we have in everyday play. So we have two different forms of play. We have stroke play and we have match play. We also need to think about how are our players going to compete on that day? Are they going to play individually? Are they going to play as partners? Are we going to do some sort of team scoring? So different ways that you can play and get involved with your friends. So the next up is how are we going to score that day? Are we just going to have a scratch competition, which means we're going to play all gross scores? We're not going to apply any sort of handicapping. We're just going to do strictly gross. That's more at a high competitive level. Sometimes we'll have these championship flights where we just do gross only. Or are we going to make this a handicap competition, a net competition, where we do apply those handicaps, and obviously we provide a equitable playing field for everyone involved when we do handicap competitions. At nearly every one of my events, we have a net component, except for at one of our championships. So net competitions for women's golf is amazing. We can get everyone out there playing from a scratch to a 45 handicap. We can bring everyone to be equitable and give out some prizing that will go down the line. So next up, we have to think about formats here. So in stroke play or match play, we have some different formats that we can get into, 4-ball, foursomes, and Chapman, for example. And then we have some other forms of stroke play only, such as Stableford and maximum score. There's also another one, but we won't get into that today. It's called par and bogey. And then some other formats of play. Scrambles have made their way into the rules book for the first time in 2019 when those rules updated. So we do see some wording on scrambles now in the rules book. So that's kind of what we're going to be chatting about today. We're going to go through these and hopefully we'll learn some new things. So let's get started. Like we said, we have two forms of play, stroke play and match play. These forms are very, very different. Obviously, the majority of play that I see, especially in America, is some form of stroke play. Match play is one of the original forms of golf. And I feel like it's making some sort of a comeback, which is great. I love it. In Australia, we grew up playing match play. So I really do like playing match play, and hopefully America will keep going, especially with the WGC on the PGA Tour now. I feel like that has definitely brought match play more into the forefront and have people thinking about that form of play. So I think that definitely the WGC has gotten America more into match play, which I hope continues. So let's see here. And then, like we talked about, we can also we can compete individually, which I would say the majority of league play probably is. You're going out individually, even just in general play, you're going out by yourself, playing just a normal round. And then we can get into some partners and teams. I love this. To get women into the game, on our schedule, we have a number of team events. I would say these are our most popular events. It's a great way to bring a friend into the game. It's not as, you don't feel as much pressure. You have your partner to rely on. Oops, sorry, Ashley, I hit that in the water, but you're gonna chip this in for us, aren't you? So just like bring a friend, you can play different levels, and yeah. And then I love playing in 4-people team events. So you can also manipulate, and we'll get into this into some formats, and the way that you would like to score it, you can then score as a team. So we'll get into some of that, how we can do that. But I love partner events, team events, lots of fun. Let's see. And like we just talked about here, we have the 2 different ways that you can score these, the scratch and the net. Like I said, net definitely levels that playing field. And what we also need to consider here, and is about how you do want to do scoring in the end, is if you are using a handicap competition or a scratch competition, the next kind of level into this is like how you would then break up your field if you wanted to flight it, to give out prizing, tighten up the field even more, creating those flights, things like that. All right. What are some things that we need to consider when thinking about what format we want to play in our league play? There are hundreds of formats. Like I said, we've kept today into kind of the ones that we can see in the rules book. There are obviously so many manipulations of formats that you can make: cha-cha-chas, ringers, eclectics, some ones that I've never heard about, but you guys have informed me of, never in the sand, just things like that. There are so many to choose from, but some of the things that you definitely want to consider when choosing this format is the atmosphere you're wanting to promote on that day. Are you looking to go out there that day and just have some fun? Are you actually wanting to like play competitively? Is it like your club championship? Is there some sort of season-long points that are going along with this? Are we looking to have a quick pace of play that day, or a format that may lead to slower pace? Is it a format that allows you to post a score? Also, some of the different formats, you want to look at what sort of players' skill level do you have in your league? And then if it's maybe a single round event or a multi-round event, how long you want that to go for. So you can really, as the committee, you can pick the format that you want, and then you can really get into the details of how you want that format scored, how you want it to be prized out, things like that. But these are definitely some of the things that you should be considering when choosing that format for the day. And again, like we've talked about, if you would like it to be an individual format or a partner format. All right, so first off, we're going to chat about stroke play. Most people should be familiar with this format. Like I said, you're just going out there on a Monday morning by yourself. Usually you'll be playing stroke play in individual form of play here. Stroke play, we have a bit of a definition here. Form of play where a player competes against all the other players in the competition. So like a club championship, something like that. I come out there, I play my 18 holes, I get my total score at the end of that round, and I am then comparing that to everyone else that's in that field for that day. We're counting individual strokes on each individual hole and adding that up at the end. So you can have 9-hole rounds, 36-hole rounds, 36-hole round competitions. You can do an 18-hole round, however your league likes to do that. Again, you guys have that ability to then figure out how you want to score that event based on the form of play that you've chosen. Scoring and stroke play, kind of like what I just said. You can, in stroke play, we have two forms of competition, like we kind of talked about earlier. We have scratch competitions or gross competitions. Then we also have handicap or net competitions. So in a scratch competition, the player who completes the rounds in the fewest total gross strokes is that winner. Like I mentioned, there's no handicaps applied in a scratch competition. Or we can play stroke play in a handicap competition, where players, they're completing in the rounds in the fewest total of net strokes. So your player's handicap is applied. So like I said, these net competitions really do bring that field together and make it an equitable playing field when you have wide varieties of handicaps. And then, like I said, you can get even further in. And then for your prizing and awarding, you can then get even further in and create those flights to get your handicaps in even tighter spots there as well. Scoring in, we're just going to do an example here of how to score in handicap stroke play. So you can see the diagram here on the right, the scorecard here. So John is out there playing. He has a handicap that day of 5. So when we look at a handicap stroke play, this is an individual one right here. He's playing by himself. So he's shot a 74 gross. That is his gross score for the day. We're going to then subtract that handicap. So we're going to subtract 5 from the 74 there, and that gives him his net score of 69. All right. Now that was in match play now. Let's see. Match play is a form of play where a player or players plays directly against an opponent or opponents in a head-to-head match. So like I mentioned, this is the WGC big match play, Dell match play tournament that's on the PGA Tour at the moment, where you can actually see this happen in real life. Let's see here. Okay, so how we score match play. You win a hole when you complete the hole in fewer strokes than your opponent. I have a 4, Ashley has a 5. I win that hole. You can tie a hole, or what was used to be known as halved. That verbiage just changed when the rules changed in 2019. We now call it tied. So we can tie a hole when you or your opponent complete the hole in the same number of strokes. So Ashley and I, we both have a 4 on that hole. We've tied that hole. And then you win a match when you lead your opponent by more holes than remain to be played. So I may get 5 up on Ashley, and I only have 4 holes to play. So there's no mathematical way that I'm 5 up with 4 holes to play that Ashley can come back and even try for a tie there. There's just not enough holes left for her to win to make up. So that match is then over, as there's more holes than remain to be played there. If your match is tied after the final hole and you need to establish a winner, the match is extended 1 hole at a time until there is a winner. So this is also dependent on how your committee would set up the way you wanted to do this, if you were allowing for a tie, or if you did need to produce a winner that day, you would need to break that match tie and go into an extended playoff there. In match play, you or your opponent may concede a stroke, a hole, or even the match to each other. This is great for pace of play, match play. The concessions you can pick up when you're out of the hole. If I've blown it out of bounds twice off the tee and Ashley's down the middle, and then we keep going and She hits her second shot into the middle of the green, and I'm lying 5 at this point. I can concede that hole to Ashley. Ashley, that's yours. You win this hole. Let's move on to the next one. Especially in partner play as well. Also is great for concessions. You can pick up, you're out of the, and move on to the next one. Yeah, let's see. Scoring in match play. Match play, we can play it 9-hole match. We can play an 18-hole match. We can also play what is a 36-hole match, which is technically 18-hole matches separated, but you score at 36. So like for our match play championship, our biggest match play championship, our final match of the championship is a 36-hole match. So after that first 18 holes, if Ashley is beating me 2 up, we go to number 19 and she is 2 up, and we continue that match until that match is over. Like I said, we can play match play individually, or we can play it as a team, as a side. Ashley and I can play together. Or we can play match play gross or net. So we can apply those handicaps, or we don't have to apply those handicaps. Again, thinking about those things we chatted about of like, what sort of day do you want? Are you looking for competitiveness? Are you looking to have fun? Things like that. Sorry about the blurability of this. It looks like I've maybe had it just came over from the internet like this. I'm so sorry. But a player leads by a certain number of holes in the match, or the match is tied. So we can see here that Jill and Jane are playing each other. They're playing a 9-hole match. And on hole number 1 there, they both had a 4. And the AS does, that means all square. This is an older image. We used to use a term called all square, like a now, or halved, or now tied is the proper word there. So after 4 and 4, they're tied. 5 and 5 on hole 2 there, they continue to be tied. And then on number 3, Jane has a 4 and Jill has an 8. So that's where she will go 1 up in that match. Then you can still see Jane then loses that next hole. So they then go back to tied, or all square there. Jane then wins hole number 6 to go back to 1 up. She then wins number 7 to go 2 up. And then on hole number 8, they tie that with 4s. Jane remains 2 up. And now we get into what we chatted about. Now there are not enough holes left for Jill to catch up, because Jane is 2 up with 1 hole to play. So even if Jill won that 9th hole, it's not going to do anything in the match there. So in this individual 9-hole match, Jane wins 2 and 1. Like I was saying, we can score match play using handicaps, which fantastic for league play. At the CGA, we have a championship called the Mashie Championship. It is our largest women's event. It's a 4-ball match play. And we do have, like we're talking about how if you want to flight events, we do flight that event. And the 99% of those flights are using handicap match, using handicaps to handicap match. Also for our net match play championship, an individual match play championship, we also use handicaps. Like I said, we can make the field, we can make it equitable to play a match. If I'm a 20 handicap and Ashley is a scratch, we can still go out there and play 1-on-1. Those handicaps are going to make it equitable. And Ashley is for sure going to be giving me some strokes, which we'll get into here. So in match play, when we're using those handicaps, we are wheeling off the lowest handicap in the match. So for an 18-hole individual match, player A has a handicap of 10 and player B has a handicap of 19. So what we would do there is we're going to wheel off that lowest handicap for the match. So player A is now reduced down to scratch or a 0 handicap, and player B would be a 9 handicap there. So from a 0 to a 9, and we're going to be deducting 1 stroke on the 9 hardest holes, or player B is getting what we call pops on those holes. So on those 9 hardest holes, which you get from that stroke index on your scorecard at your golf course, where the holes are ranked 1 through 18, hardest to easiest there. So on 1 through 9, player B would be getting a pop on those holes there. In a team match, so when Ashley and I are playing together as a side, we're partners. So player A and player B are playing together as partners, and player C and player D are playing as partners. We have a 10 handicap, a 15 handicap, a 12 handicap, and a 20 handicap here. So what's going to happen is, remember, we have to reel off that lowest index, that lowest handicap there. So player A, who was a 10, is going to get down to scratch, and then we're going to wheel off player A. So player B with a 15, they're going to get 5 pops on the 1 through 5 hardest holes. Player C is going to get 2 pops on those 2 hardest holes, a pop each on those 2 hardest holes. And player D is going to get 10 pops, 1 pop on each of those 1 through 10 hardest holes in the match. So here's an example here from our Mash-U Championship. Shout out if these ladies are on the call, from 2017. This is just the scorecard that we use at the championship. So this is our 4-ball. This is a team, a partner, handicapped match. So we can see here that hole on the second line there, she is a 27. So her partner, who is Goldberg, she is a 28. So she's gonna get 1 pop there. Ackerman, who's a 30, she's gonna get 3. And then Mole, she's gonna get 4. So we're gonna wheel off Marsha, and you can see here down the bottom of the scorecard, we put a line here for match status, just to help keep the match, because in match play you do not need to keep a scorecard technically. So you don't need to hand that into the committee or anything like that within the rules of golf. So if you do want to use a scorecard like this just to keep track of match status, it is helpful sometimes. So we can see here, you can see the example here of, we also highlight there what holes the pops are. So you can see the handicap in the stroke index there underneath the par, 5, 3, 13, 11, 1. So that's the stroke index there. So you can see on hole number 5, that's the hardest hole on the golf course, number 1 stroke index wise. So for the 3 of them, Goldberg, Ackerman, and Mole, they're all going to get a pop there. With Mole getting the most pops, she's getting 4 pops within the match. And you can see the match status there, 1 up, tied or square, the old verbiage there, sorry. Tied. So in this match, Mole and Ackerman, they end up winning this match 4 and 3, as there are not enough holes left for them, Mole and Goldberg, to catch up there. So you can see, for example, on hole number 5 there, where the pop comes into play. So Mole and Ackerman, they both have a 4 on the hole, so that when they take their pop, that's technically a net 3 there. So that's where the score of the match there for that hole, they'll be going off the net score there. All right. So that's stroke play and match play, our 2 main forms of play. Now we're going to get into some different formats. Like I said, there are hundreds of formats. But the ones that we're going to chat about here right now are in the rule book. We can find them in there. So we could decide if we want to play a 4-ball tournament, we can play that as stroke play or match play. We can play foursomes as stroke play or match play. Chapman, which is a kind of a modified version of foursomes, we can play as stroke play or match play. And then these ones here are specifically, they are a form of stroke play. So Stableford scoring, just a different way you score that stroke play. And maximum score is a different way to score that stroke play. All right, 4-ball first. 4-ball's the best. Gotta love it, right? All the pressure isn't on you. You have a partner to help you out. So 4-ball, like I said, can be played as either stroke play or match play. 2 partners are competing as a side, each playing their own ball. The team's score for a hole is the lowest score of the 2 partners. So Ashley and I are playing together. We're partners for the day. On hole number 1, Ashley has a 5 and I have a 7. We are taking Ashley's ball on that one. So we have 1 score for our team on hole number 1. We're going to take that lowest score of the 2 partners. In a handicap competition, like I said, we can play these formats as gross competitions, as net competitions, as a mixture of both. If we're doing awarding, we can award as gross and net, things like that. But in a handicap competition for 4-ball, no matter if it's stroke play or match play, we are going to be using that stroke index allocation, like we just talked about in a handicap match. We're going to look at those 1 through 18, the stroke index, and we're going to use that to determine on what holes any applicable handicap strokes fall. So those pops that we were talking about. So we do use that stroke index for 4-ball in both stroke play and match play. Obviously in match play, we do, like we just chatted about, we wheel off that low player, whereas in stroke play, we don't have to wheel off anyone. So we get our individual pops there per hole. Scoring in 4-ball, I probably just, again, so sorry about this. I can barely read this. So we have Kate and John here. So John and Kate are playing together. This is funny because my dad's name is John. Sorry, just threw me. So John and Kate, looks like Kate has a 4 on the first hole and John has a 5. So we're going to take that best ball between our side, and we're going to have a 4 there as our team score. So that bottom line, kind of like how we had a bottom line on the scorecard for the 4-ball match play, just kind of keep the match status. There's also another line here that you can put down on your scorecards where they would put down their best ball score, their team best ball score. On that second hole, looks like I did something crazy here, and I don't even have a score for that hole, because remember, we only need 1 score per team for this format. So John, he's holed out, he had a 3. I may be chipping around, or I've hit it out of bounds, and I know that John is sitting pretty on the green, is about to 2-putt. I can pick that up, because remember, we only need that 1 score. So 4-ball is great for pace of play, like kind of like the match play, how we can concede, pick up. Same with this, like your partner, if someone's struggling in that team, you can pick up if your partner is sitting pretty and is going to get that score for your team. Foursomes or alternate shot. I would say this is the hardest format in golf for me personally. You got to have a good partner in this one. You got to trust them. You got to have a good relationship. You got to put in those rules like never say sorry, things like that, because it can get a bit, it can get fun out there for sure. So foursomes, again, can be played as either stroke play or a match play. 2 partners compete as a team by playing 1 ball, alternating order on each hole. So Ashley and I, again, are partners. We're a side, we're playing together. On each hole, like we said, the partners must make each stroke for the side in alternating order. So one partner is going to tee off from all the odd holes, while the other partner tees off from all the even holes. So at the beginning of before we start, out of Ashley and I, you may want to look at the course that you're playing at. If you hate number 7 because you can't get over that ditch or whatever, guess what, Ashley? You're going to be teeing off on 7. So you're taking the odd holes and I'm going to be taking the even holes. So on hole number 1, Ashley's got the odds. She's teeing off first. I am then going to be hitting that second shot. She is then going to be hitting that third shot. I am going to be hitting that fourth shot, etc., until we've holed out. So it's strictly alternating from tee to once it's in the hole and you're done with the hole. Again, love this format. So much fun, but can also be frustrating, but also hilarious. Definitely have been stuck in a couple of bunkers by your partner and things like that. But yeah, I love the rule. One of my best friends back in Australia, because we played a bunch of this in Australia, just never say sorry, because that's just going to get bad throughout the round at some point. A Chapman, or otherwise known as a Pinehurst, this is kind of a modified version of foursomes, and actually at the CGA we do play a Chapman championship, which is a bunch of fun. Ladies love it. This is a great format, so if you don't want to go straight to putting in an alternate shot format, which again can be a little intimidating and frustrating potentially, Chapman may be a good way to start and then move into more of the strict foursomes moving forward. So Chapman can be played as either stroke play or match play. Two partners competing as a team again. Me and Ashley playing as a side. Each playing from the teeing ground, and then each playing their partner's ball for the second shot. After the second shot, partners then select the ball with which they wish to score and play that ball alternately to complete the hole. So Ashley and I, so in foursomes, remember, we only had one ball in play. In a Chapman, we start with two balls in play. So Ashley and I both tee off. I hit Ashley's drive, Ashley hits my drive. Then after those second shots, we pick which ball we like the best, where we want to go from, and we play alternately in from there. So if we end up taking the second shot that I hit, so I hit which was Ashley's drive, and I hit that second shot and we choose to take that on the third, Ashley would then be playing that third shot, because we have to then go alternately. So then we're down to one ball. So after that, those second shots, we're down to one ball and play alternately into the hole. Lots of fun. Hopefully there may be someone in your league that has played in this championship of ours. We host it every year in the mountains at the end of the year in September, and it's a lot of fun. So I would definitely recommend trying this out at your league, see how the ladies like it. Yeah, definitely recommend. Stableford. Mr. Stableford created this format. Stableford is massive in Australia. I grew up playing Stableford. So just say in an example, like the ladies league where I grew up in small town Australia, they play once a week on a Wednesday. So out of those 4 times that they'd play monthly, I would say that you're either playing stroke play or par bogey, which are forms of stroke play, but just difference in scoring. We would be playing that 3 out of the 4 times, and we would usually only be playing individual stroke play once a month. So like Stableford, par bogey is very big in Australia. It's just a different form of scoring. So here we go. This Stableford is a form of stroke play. The score for a hole is based on points awarded by comparing the number of strokes taken on the hole to a fixed target score. So in a competition, player who completes the rounds with the most points is the winner. Again, this is great for pace of play because you can, we'll see here. I'll show you the table first, sorry. So scoring. Points are awarded by comparing the player's score to a fixed target score, which is par, unless the committee sets something different. So the committee can set these different target scores and point structures. So I'll just have a couple of examples here. So this is using a fixed score. And so what you can do is you can manipulate what that fixed score is. So I would recommend for a scratch competition that gross only, no handicaps applied. If you're getting real competitive there, like how the rules set it up, it's par. So the target score here, you can see this table on the right. This is how many points they're going to get. So if you have that fixed target score as par, they would get 2 points. If they go one under that, so a birdie, that would be 3 points. You know, an eagle, 2 under that fixed target score would be 4 points. A bogey is 1 point. double bogey, or you just pick up when you don't have a score for that hole, is you're just going to get 0. So again, great for beginners, great for if you want a quick pace of play that day, you can pick up, you can just, if you're hacking it along, you're struggling, you've hit it in the water a couple times, you can just pick up and you just get 0 points. So again, good for, it's just playing stroke play, it's individual stroke play, but we're just scoring it differently. So like I said, how you can change your target score, you can also change the points. So you see this at the tour does a Stableford championship now, but you know, that's very highly competitive. They change the point structure, like they give minus points if you have a bogey, you know, minus 2 points if you double bogey or more, things like that. So as the committee, you can both change that target score and you can change the amount of points that are being awarded. What I would suggest, and we are, for if you are going to be using a net competition, is to manipulate that target score. And I would suggest using a target score of net par. So everything on the left there, hole played in, so you would just change that to net par, net birdie, net eagle, net bogey, things like that. So you just have your normal handicap allowance, whatever you're allowing, it's 100%. For example, you're getting your pops. If you're an 18 handicap, you're getting a pop on every hole, and your target score would be to net par. We are introducing a new tournament this year, as Stableford is the only format of play that we're really missing on our women's schedule. So we're going to try that out this year. It is going to be gross and net, but those fixed targets, those target scores is going to be based on net. Again, wide handicap ranges, make it equitable for the whole field. Stableford is great. I suggest you get into it, play some more of it. Not as frustrating. You don't have to hole out. You know, you can just get those 0 points and move on. Again, sorry, very blurry. This is kind of just an example here of where you have, again, the line down the bottom where you've got your gross score up the top, and then you get your points down the bottom. So just kind of keeping track of your points, because that's how you are scoring in this format of Stableford, is the points. So this player has received 30 points. So 36 is your target total points. That's, you know, two points a hole. So 36 is kind of your playing to your handicap that day. And then anything above 36 points, you've obviously played better than your handicap that day. And anything below 36 points, you've played above your handicap that day. Maximum score, another form of stroke play, but we're just changing the way that we score at the end. So maximum score is a form of stroke play where a player's score for a hole is capped at a maximum number of strokes set by the committee. So again, the committee has the power to decide what you're going to do here. If it's going to be 2 times par, it's going to be net double bogey, or some other fixed number. So the player's score for the hole is based on the player's number of strokes, except that the player will only get the maximum score set if the actual score exceeds the maximum. So just say you have your maximum score set at 2 times par. So on a par 3, that would be a maximum score of 6. So if I'm playing and I have a 5, that's great. That's why 5 is my score for that hole. If I have a 7 or higher on that par 3, if I have a 7, if I have an 8, if I have a 9, I'm actually going to score a 6, because we've set in this maximum score for each hole. So I would actually go back to a 6 in that case on a par 3. All right. For the first time, like I mentioned at the beginning, we see scramble in the rules book for the first time mentioned. So scrambles, most people have played in one of these in their lifetime. It's a great format for casual play. They come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Committees do some crazy things with this. I played in some fun ones where they put in some rules, but generally a scramble involves a team of 4 players. Each team member hits a tee shot on each hole. The team then collectively decides which of the 4 balls is in the best position to play next, and then each player plays a shot from the new designated position. This procedure is repeated on each shot until the ball is holed. You know, people put in rules for this, like we have to take 3 of every person's drives, you know, things like that. So you can get creative with what you want to do here. You can put in whole competitions, longest drives, closest pins, things like that. But remember, like, this is not a postable round. You cannot post this score as you're not playing, you know, you're choosing the best spot every time and playing in there. So, all right. Just some generic couple of things here to remember when we are picking formats and how this relates to the rules of handicapping. So, you know, can I post a score in this format? Are my ladies going to be able to post? You know, there are rules that what covers what is an acceptable score to post. And if you do, just please go to the handicap manual, see rule 2.1a. But being an authorized format of play, what some of the ones we've talked about here, individual stroke play or individual match play, 4-ball stroke play or 4-ball match play, you know, they have met, those forms have met that requirement of being an authorized format of play. And that is one of the requirements that must be met for a score to be posted. There's obviously other things, but those formats, the individual stroke, individual match, 4-ball stroke, 4-ball match, they're all authorized formats under the rules of handicapping. So I would definitely check out the handicapping manual a bit too before you choose some of these formats if you do want to be able to post those scores. Do I play at 100% handicap in this format? So formats differ with what handicaps, allowances we allow, what the committee can do if we want to restrict. We're playing as a side, me and Ashley playing as partners, we can restrict how far apart our handicaps are, things like that. So there are things that the committee can do here, but the rules of handicapping, they do give you some recommendations for handicap competitions in some formats. So if you do go to Appendix C, they have a fantastic table that lists stroke play, individual, stroke play, 4-ball, match play, 4-ball, and it will tell you what handicap allowances are recommended to make that field even more equitable in that format, because formats do differ. And so, like, just a couple of examples here that we play, 4-ball stroke play competition, 85% of the course handicaps is what the USGA recommends. In a Chapman, this is the recommendation from the USGA. We take the 60% of the low handicap in the pair and 40% of the high handicap in the pair. So out of Ashley and I, and then you get to your team handicap there. So, and that way, you know, you can, again, if you're flighting to make it even tighter for awarding and prizes and things like that, you can flight by team handicaps, you can flight by the low in the group, the committee has a lot of things that they can do and just some best practices that you can use to make it equitable. And if you have questions on flighting and how people award, definitely get with your peers. Please email me, but there's definitely a lot of ways that you can flight and try to get those competitions tighter between your players there for sure. Hopefully, some of you are using Golf Genius, or your club where you're at has Golf Genius and can help you, because Golf Genius has come a long way. There is so many formats in that tournament software. So as long as you can set that up correctly, and once you have that set, like, it's going to do that work for you when you put in your scoring and all that. So, and they also have all the different handicap recommendations from the USGA and some different forms that League Play use. So bunches of ways to run interesting formats in Golf Genius. If this will probably be a question, but, you know, unfortunately, it still does not count putts. It doesn't count chips, things like that. If it's not really within, you know, the rules of golf, it's not in Golf Genius per se yet. That may change a little bit moving forward, but as of now, unfortunately, ladies, you can't track your putts as of yet. Let's see. Yeah, the knowledge base in Golf Genius is incredible. I went in there this past week after getting your feedback on what formats you play. I didn't know some of them, to be honest. So knowledge base, though, there are so many articles on numerous formats, and it will list it out the format, the definition of it, how to put it, how to set it up in Golf Genius, what the recommended handicap, reductions are, things like that. The knowledge-based articles are incredible. How to run a skins, how to run those quotas, the season-long ringers and eclectics, a 666, Nassau's, cha-cha-cha. There are so many in there. So please, if you have access to Golf Genius, or if you don't and you want to know about a specific tournament format, I may be able to pull it out of Golf Genius for you and send you the PDF article. But yeah, it will literally tell you how to set up that tournament, all about the tournament. And then, yeah, if you got it set up correctly, you should be good to go. Like I kind of said there, this will set up, get it all in correctly, and then the software will take care of the rest. Hit that orange help button. For you guys that use Golf Genius, you'll see that orange help button on the side. Click that, and that's where you can search quota, skins, and those knowledge-based articles will come up for you there. Need some new format ideas? Like I said, just hundreds of formats out there. Ways to find some of that information on other formats. Google. I was doing that the other night just because some of these formats that you ladies sent in, I had no clue what they were. So just to, find out some of these more untraditional formats, that aren't within the rules. Google's great. Reach out to other ladies' leagues. The amount of times that I've heard from different leagues and what they're playing, and I'm like, that is so fun, and just try and figure out a different way that may work for your league, or a different way to score it, or to turn that into an individual stroke play into somehow scoring that as a 4-person team. So 4 count 3, or you're counting all 4 players to get that team score. Just ways of manipulating certain formats to get to different scoring outcomes. Just so many different things you can do. Please reach out to your friends. You all have these games that you put money on the course, things like that. Reach out. And again, the Golf Genius knowledge base, so good. So from the questions that Erin Gangloff sent out before the summit, these were some of your responses. And like I said, I gotta say, I don't know some of these. I would love to get out there and play some of them with you, because I'm sure it's a hoot. And that's the way that I learn new formats too, is when I go out and play with some of you ladies, because usually at the championship or the tournament level, we're staying within those regular forms of play that we've been talking about. So here are some of the ones that you ladies put in. Tombstone pumpkin patch, that sounds pretty cool. Still not sure on what a baker's dozen is. Odds and evens, you pick out certain holes for your round, and you're counting scores from the odds only, and you may be counting 2 balls in the par 3s and 4 on the par 4s, things like that. Flags, found out you put like a flag in the ground or something when you've died within the hole, or something, like you're out of the hole or something like that. Mutt and Jeff, not sure on that one. Never in the sand, that sounds like fun. I think Ashley and I may want to play that format more. Skills challenges, longest drives, closest to the pins, things like that. Best ball, Stableford, like we talked about. This is great for league play, ladies. I would really give Stableford a go. Just that less pressure to have to hole out on every hole, where when you get to that double bogey or more, it's in your pocket, you're 0 points, you're moving on. You're not hacking it away trying to get that ball in the hole like a normal individual stroke play round. Shambles, scrambles, eclectics, Solheim Cups, that's a bunch of fun. And then I love that you said this, your league's most popular formats, low gross and low net. Like we've talked about with prizing, flighting. At our championships, 99% of the time we are giving gross and net prizes, because we have large handicap spreads. Fantastic. If you're going to gross only, it's at that very high competitive level. If you have a competitive championship flight that are playing from a different set of tees, for example, and you want them to be playing gross only, but definitely I would lean towards gross and net in your prizing and things like that. CGA women's tournaments. This is just kind of giving you an overview of what sort of forms of play we play, how we compete, and how we score them. So I am proud of the fact that at the CGA on our women's schedule, we have a variety of tournaments to play in. We are hitting nearly every format that we've talked about today. The one that we weren't hitting was a Stableford, and we are going to put an event in play this year that is using Stableford scoring, which is exciting. So on the left there, you'll see our event name and then form of play. It's a very good mix of both stroke and match play. And then like we talked about how you can make those formats, you know, like we are using a stroke play form of play, but we're going to use Stableford as our format that day. So match play, we have individual match play, we have 4-ball match play, you know, we have 4-ball stroke play, so stroke play Chapman, we have partner events, individual events, and then obviously how we score it on that right-hand side. Like I mentioned, you can either have, you know, if it's a pair, the two of you, or we do have 2 4-person team events, which is, again, each of those 4 people, they're playing individually, but for scoring purposes, we, the committee, say we're scoring this and awarding this in a team fashion. So all 4 of you are playing individually, but we're going to count up your scores to get that team score. And then you can see as well, we do use gross and net at the majority of our championships, and they're mostly all flighted as well. Please visit our website as well. Under the play tab, you'll see all of our championships listed, and we'll get those informational pages up there where when you click into an event, you can see the what each in more detail what each event plays in. That's all I got, Ashley. Questions?
Thanks, Kate. We've had some really good questions come in that we were able to answer through the chat about assigning points to winning or having matches, shambles versus scrambles. So it's been fun. The origins, why do we call it 4-ball? Ladies, if you have any other questions, we do have some time here and we happily answer those. A couple, Kate, for you. There's one question about what pre-made scorecards does Golf Genius have to help with some of these formats?
Yeah, so there are some templates in there, or you know, if you want to see kind of like if you have a 4-ball match play scorecard, you can also create your own in Golf Genius. So if you have the look that you want it to look like, you can then put in those different rows, kind of like what I was talking about. Like you can add in that match status row at the bottom, so you can have your 2 players and your 2 players playing in that match, and then a match status down the bottom. If you're using Stableford points, you can add a row down the bottom that shows like your accumulated points for the match. So you can either use templates in Golf Genius, you can create your own. You know, we have some created for formats if you wanted us to like send you what our PDF looks like, so you can then go and create that in Golf Genius yourself. It's always good, I think, for your league to just set up some templates, you know, like individual team, like a 4-person team, you know, a match play card versus stroke play card, just to have some templates in there. Yeah.
Great, thanks. We do have some interest in our new Stableford tournament. Maybe you can just give us a little more info. That one's not up on our website yet, but it will be. So maybe for these ladies that are attending, you can just give them a little more info.
Yeah, so yeah, it's not up on the website yet, just because we have our women's tournament committee meeting next week, so you guys are kind of getting the scoop. But Stableford was the one format that we weren't hitting, we felt like, on our schedule. So we are going to play that. Remember, that is an individual, that is a stroke play form of play. We're going to be playing it as individual stroke play, but we're going to score it as a team. So we're turning that into a 4-person team for scoring wise. So there's going to be 4 of us on the team. It's going to be net, obviously. So we're going to use that table, that Stableford points table. We're going to set that fixed target score at net par, and then obviously do the points from there. So net birdie, net bogey, etc. So you're going to be playing individually. We're going to do a 4-count 3 system to get to the team scoring. So out of the 4 players on each hole, 3 of those points will count. So if there is someone struggling, they want to put it in their pocket and they get 0, that's great. If your whole group gets 0, your team score for that hole will be 0. And then we are doing it similar to 2 of our other tournaments, the Niblick and the Hickory, which is where We use one set of tees. We are going to flight it to make it more equitable. We're going to flight it by combining a combined team course handicap, and then flight it from there and award based off those team points. So like I said, there are so many things that the committee can do and can decide to do on how you want to score and flight and award and all that jazz. But yeah, we're starting with individual stroke play, scoring it as Stableford, scoring it as a team. So
thanks, Kate. Deanna, I noticed that you've had your hand raised, and I'm sorry if I missed that from earlier. I'll unmute your mic here if there's something you want to ask, and if not, we can move on too. How about Kim? I see a hand raised from Kim. Linda? Maybe I'm doing something wrong here. All right. If something comes up, feel free to send it in the chat here. Our team is able to follow up with you after this as well, and some follow-up emails, additional information. Okay, one last thing that might be worth addressing. It did come up a couple of times. A lot of our women, not a lot, some of our women's tournament have a maximum handicap of 36, I believe. Players are asking, what if their partner has a handicap a little bit higher than that? Do we allow them to play?
So again, as the committee, you can put in handicap restrictions. So you can say like the max handicap index we're going to have in this field is a 36.0. If someone is above a 36.0, they will just be reduced down to a 36.0. And then obviously you get your course handicap based off that. So if someone's a 40, they'll just get reduced down and they'll get less strokes that day. And then a kind of a different kind of question on top of that, you're talking about handicap limits within partners. So in four balls, foursomes, any kind of partner event where you're playing as a side, you can put in additional handicap restrictions. Like we talked about how in four balls stroke play, you get 85% of your course handicap each player. You can also put in additional handicap requirements that force me and Ashley playing together to be within 8 strokes of each other, for example. So me and Ashley, we need to be within 8 strokes of each other. Otherwise, the high of us is going to get reduced down, or we're going to get an additional reduction made, things like that. That again is up to the committee. The reducing between partners, I would say, is very helpful if you have very high spreads in your matches, especially in match play. But also that flighting is also going to help you out with that as well. So I think a combination of flighting and the additional reduction between partners can definitely make it more equitable, especially in match play, where you may have someone that's very low playing with a very high partner. You can definitely get some interesting things happening there in match play.
Awesome. For those of you that are looking forward to the 11 o'clock sessions, feel free to jump out to those. We have a couple more here questions, and we will answer them very quickly if you want to stick around. I believe our next session is why your game is limited by your body, with a fitness trainer named Dee Tidwell. So hop on into that. We'll get started in a few minutes there. Again, if you have any additional questions, please reach out to Kate or really anyone at the CGA. We'd love to get you guys some additional information. So
thank you all, ladies. Appreciate you, and I love seeing you out at events, and hopefully I will see a new face out there this year.
For those of you that might be sticking around, one question here: if you don't have a partner, can one be assigned at a tournament? We don't currently do that for CGA events. We do get some requests for that, so maybe that's a great suggestion for us in the future, is to kind of keep a list and get people paired up, but you would need to come with a friend to play in those CGA championships. What's the date for the Stableford tournament? Are we ready to release that? It will be in May. That's what I'll tell you. And then we'll be up on the website next week, so stay tuned. And the last one we had here is eclectic an actual format? Go ahead, Kate.
You can set it up in Golf Genius. It is a format that you can set up in there. I would need to get into the, I don't know that off the top of my head, Debbie. I don't know if Debbie does. But that I know for sure that is for sure in Golf Genius, where you can again set it up correctly and it will do the work for you with all the scoring. Debbie, you got any info on eclectics for me?
Yeah, the eclectic is a minimum of 2 rounds. You play your first round, then you play your second round, and the scoring is you take the best score from both days to come up with your eclectic score.
So it's an individual stroke play format.
Individual stroke play format. You just play your own ball,
Yep.
and then to determine the winner, like I said, you compare each round, each hole, and take the best score for each hole.
Yep. So you're playing, form wise, you're playing stroke play, you're playing individually, and then you're scoring. The format is that take your best of the 2 days.
Right. And you can do it gross or net.
Yep.
Awesome.
Kind of like similar to Stableford there, where you're playing that individual stroke play, but you're scoring it in a different form.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Ashley?
Nothing else, Kate. You nailed it.
Ladies, thank you all so much. Please go out and enjoy these formats. Try some new ones. And yeah, let us know if you have some real wacky one that the ladies just love. And maybe we'll do that at a member event, maybe not a championship. But yeah.
All right.
Thank you all
Thanks
so much. Have a great day.